Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. That's about all I have to say about that. Welcome into Crunch Time here on ASTV Productions. I am Michael Wags, Wagon Connect, joined alongside by Joe Hamilton. And Joe, holy moly, we thought opening day was an event unto itself. Guess what? Nolan Arenado made it even bigger. How are you doing today, man? I know it's been a cold, rainy day, but as Scott said last night, it's pretty much par for the course for a Cardinals opening day. But how are you enjoying today?
You know what? I got up today. It was so festive. I watched all the opening day ceremonies. I found it interesting though, and I don't know if you saw this, Wags. During the opening day ceremonies, they announced every player, and they had to scratch Goldschmidt because of his sore lower back, but he wasn't announced until the end. Was that a snafu on their part, or was that planned? Because that just seemed odd to me. I'm
Well,
like,
I mean,
where's Goldie?
probably more a snafu because he was a late minute scratch, so they probably
It
already
was
had it. They
probably,
just
yeah.
moved it down into the bottom of the lineup. So, yeah, definitely not a snafu, or they didn't forget about him. I think it's just because of that late scratch.
Yeah, but otherwise, man, Corbin Burns pitched really well in this game. Adam Wainwright started this game a little shaky in my mind, but the thing was, it was opening day. It was going to be a low-scoring game anyway, Wags, because it was cold and rainy out.
Yeah, because
So,
that is exactly how it happened in Cincinnati.
well, and that's funny. I mean, I even was thinking to myself, how did the ball fly? Even though that ballpark's a bandbox in Cincinnati, how did that ball fly like it did? But you know what? I'm glad the Cardinals got the win today, and Nolan Arenado had his signature moment on the home opener. What does that say about him?
It just has amazing things about him. But if you look at it, and this is the great thing, Brendan Schaefer actually put this tweet out earlier today. Adam Wainwright just said that Nolan Arenado would occasionally send him videos over the last couple of years of him making ridiculous plays and tell him, show this to Mo. There is no doubt this guy wanted to be a Cardinal, and he proved it. I told Scott today, he was working down at the ballpark today. It's his job, and he got a chance to be in that first base side of the field when Nolan Arenado hit that home run. And I'm like, I've never in my life, and I've seen a lot of local players, a lot of just big time names come through St. Louis. And I have never seen a player that excited to be a part of a team, not just here, but just in general, a player that excited. He looked like a kid on the sandlot, hitting that home run, running around the field, the biggest smile on his face, jumping up and down, getting the curtain call. He came out and said he's never had a curtain call in his entire career. Wow, what a way to get your first one here in St. Louis.
It really is. And Brad Thompson, I got to give him a little bit of credit too. He was on the Cardinal broadcast today, and he said, I don't know what's going to happen right now, but I sense some magic happening. Little did we know Nolan Arenado is going to hit a ball about 400 feet. So I'm kind of glad. And the Cardinals' record, Wags, if you haven't noticed, during their home opener, has not been good. I don't know the exact numbers, but it's nice to actually win a home opener.
I mean, you should probably know the numbers if you're going to bring that up.
Exactly. I know, but I've been to countless opening days over the years where the Cardinals just have looked flat. And I went into that ninth inning, with Reyes on the mound. He can be shaky sometimes, not all the time, and more times than not, he's not. What I saw in the ninth inning from Reyes was a lockdown ninth inning. It was a perfect day in Cardinal Nation.
So wait, hold on. Were you worried about Alex Reyes in that position?
I was.
You said he mostly never issue.
I kind of was because, again, like I said before, the Cardinals haven't had good luck much in home openers. So I'm like, it was a 3-1 game. There was a runner on first base as it was. And I'm just glad that, Tommy Edman was positioned where he was, or the Vogelback at bat would have turned into a base hit, and that inning could have gotten worse, could have snowballed from Reyes. But I'm glad that, he got that second out and that fly ball to end it. And another guy who had a good swing in this one, Dylan Carlson, had a bomb double. I mean, that thing was crushed. So I was a little worried about Dylan Carlson, Wags, a little bit, just because he hasn't really hit much. And when he has hit, yes, it's been damage, but he hasn't hit much. How much leeway were you wanting to give Dylan Carlson until you're like, man, is there something really wrong with Carlson here? I mean, I can sense your answer, but just give me your answer just for the sake of conversation.
He had not even a full season last year. So you're talking about a guy that is a highly touted prospect for the Cardinals, and you're going to sit here and base it off of a half of a season, and you're worried about him?
I know. I think he was trying a little too hard in a sense. I've seen
Scott joins us. When isn't Joe worried about something?
Scott has a good point. I just need to stop worrying because everything's going to work out in the end, right?
It is. And Will, just so you know, that's Scott. That's the Scott that joins us every night. He works down at Busch Stadium for the Cardinals game, so that's why he's not on with us right now. So I'm pretty sure he's been welcome to Crunch Time a couple of different times. So yeah, and once again, we're having a multitude of my employees joining us to chat in the show. So we'll see if anything comes of that. It's opening day, so once again, it is a national holiday here in St. Louis. And you talked about Adam Wainwright. Went 5 innings, 5 hits, an earned run, 2 walks, 6 strikeouts. Vintage Wainwright, and probably the last opening day start here at Busch that we're probably going to see from Adam Wainwright. But to have him do that with Yadier Molina behind the plate, and then to have not Dylan Carlson, Nolan Arenado do what he does. That seems to be, it was the perfect opening day, was it not?
It was the perfect opening day. It was something that, I saw this team do what they did in Miami. They beat up on the Reds on the actual opening day. And this is a tough team in Milwaukee, but the Cardinals had some luck go their way. I mean, look at that ball right off the bat that Lorenzo Cain was robbed on. That ball is not caught. It's probably 2-3-0 there. That's one of the best catches I think I've ever seen in that situation. It wasn't a diving catch. I understand that, but like Scott said, it was the single biggest play of that game.
Anything that does defense is going to be a big play, especially one that prevents runs from getting in. The Cardinals bullpen also pitched very, very well. They 4 innings pitched, just gave up the 1 hit, no runs, 5 strikeouts and a walk. So like I said, everything went right for the Cardinals today. And I'll say this, everything went almost right on opening day in Cincinnati as well. And are we worried at all that Milwaukee's going to bounce back and put up a huge game on Saturday against the Cardinals? Because outside of that 1 run that they scored, Milwaukee was pretty much shut down as well. I mean, Colton Wong got a chance to be the leadoff guy for Milwaukee here in his first start as a visitor. He went 0 for 3, but he got a great ovation from the fans. It looked like he was, enjoying the moment. Got a little emotional as well when he had his first plate appearance. But are we expecting Milwaukee to kind of bounce back a little bit? Because like you said, they are a good team. They're a tough team. They might be the one that gives the Cardinals the best fight throughout this season for the top spot in the Central Division.
Yeah, I would think they'd have a better showing on Saturday just because, we saw some loud outs. 2 from Lorenzo Cain, got robbed twice, 1 by Nolan Arenado at third base. And he's going to get his. And I'm a little worried about it being Saturday. You didn't see Devin Williams and you didn't see Josh Hader in this game, which the Cardinals need to get past those 2 before they before you can proclaim them winners of this division. It's going to be a hard fought division all year. It's going to be some fun games, that's for sure.
I'm not going to sit here and crown the Cardinals kings after 1 game.
No,
so
but
you're going to see these guys a lot this year, and they are going to be the toughest team in the Central Division outside of the Cardinals. But, it is what it is. We'll see what happens. And I'm looking forward to a really, really good game on Saturday as well. Let's take a look around the league because there are other games in action today, including some more Central Division opponents. The Cubs and Pirates were doing battle today. The Cubs a 4-2 victory over the Pirates. Chris Bryant, Javi Baez, and Anthony Rizzo all hit home runs in the victory. Jake Arrieta, 2-0 on the year, pitched 6 innings. Craig Kimbrell earns the save with an inning and 2/3 pitched as well. The Cubs need Jake Arrieta to be the old Jake Arrieta. It's only been 2 games, but from what you've seen so far, are they going to get that vintage Arrieta for most of the year, or is it still just too early to tell?
It's still too early to tell. I mean, you can go back to 2016. The Cubs used him an awful lot. So I think that it's a little too early to tell that, but he does feel comfortable more pitching for the Cubs for whatever reason. Seems like he can do what he wants on the mound, not being forced to do anything differently. So we could see the same Jake Arrieta, but there is a big-time workload there.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he's going to have to be the ace almost of that rotation, and that's saying something for a guy that struggled in Philadelphia, had his best years in Chicago. So we'll see how that plays out. The fact that Bryant, Baez, and Rizzo all hit home runs today just shows you that they still got some pop and some power, and the Cubs may not be at the end of the year near the top of the division, but they are going to be a tough team to battle. The Mets and Marlins had a very interesting ending of their game today. The Mets a 3-2 winner over the Marlins. Jeff McNeil hit a game-tying home run in the bottom of the 9th. And then the Mets win it on a somewhat controversial hit by pitch. Conforto he absolutely leaned into a strike. The ball hit him. It was called a strike, but then they reversed their call, said it hit him. It was a bases loaded situation. The game-winning run scores from there. After the game, the umps basically came out and said, look, it was a strike. We should have called it. We should have called him out, and the game should have gone on. Replay doesn't allow you to call balls and strikes or something of that nature. It's still all umpire discretion. Are we getting closer? And I know this isn't going to be the impetus behind it all. It's not going to be the one thing that changes it, but are we getting closer to having robot umpires and the ability for replay to judge balls and strikes in that situation? Or are we just going to have to live with this?
I think we're getting closer to robot umpires, and we're seeing it already in the minor leagues. The thing is, Wags, I think those kinds of things need to be punished anyway. If a player leans into a pitch, he shouldn't get that easy pass to first base. I don't like that rule at all. I mean, yes, if you're hit in the ribs, I get it. But if you're leaning your shoulder or elbow pad into it, you shouldn't get the benefit of the doubt in my mind, and you should not go to first base. I've seen that a couple times this year already, and it's irked me every time I've seen it.
But if it's umpire discretion, though, I mean, you can't review something in that instance. It's umpire discretion.
I wish things like that could be reviewable, though. If you're going to keep the human umpires, just make that reviewable. I know it would make the game a little bit longer, but what are we talking about? A few seconds?
And yet they're still trying to shorten the game because
I
it's still too long.
That.
So I mean that's the whole thing. At this point now, we're starting to sit there and say, okay, we're going to review everything. So every play is going to go under review, and then we'll make our call, and then we'll go to the next play, and we'll review that, and then we'll go to the next play, and we'll review that. You're on a slippery slope, and if you're going to continue to have the human error and human element in it, at some point you have to draw a line and say, we're not going to review this. And right now that's the line that they're drawing. So I don't see it being changed at all. I think maybe umpire conferences could be something that happens a little bit more, but not reviews. And you know what? We lived for so long without replay. Let's not continue to muddy the waters.
Okay. What about this, Legs? I got to ask you, do you like the rule? Do you like the ruling? If someone leans into it, should they get the benefit of the doubt in your mind?
It's umpire discretion. If the umpire believes that the guy got hit legitimately, then he goes to first base. That's what it comes down to. So, all right, we're going to take a quick break here on Crunch Time. We're going to come back and continue to talk more about Major League Baseball because it was a big day in that league. So make sure you come back for more Crunch Time here on ASTV Productions. And we're back here on Crunch Time on ASTV Productions, running down the day in Major League Baseball. Moving on to the Red Sox and Orioles. This is a big, big day for Eduardo Rodriguez. He comes back after missing the entire year last year after heart inflammation caused him to miss the season. He goes 5 innings, gives up 3 earned, strikes out 7, and gets the win in the Red Sox 7-3 victory over Baltimore. Dude, man, you got to love these kinds of stories. We see it all the time in all sports, but to see a guy come back from a heart condition after what went down in the pandemic last year, good for Rodriguez to get out there and get the win today.
It really is good, and the Red Sox got one of their guns back. I mean, Eduardo Rodriguez was one of their prospects, and he was one of the good pitchers in 19. It's nice to see a guy like that come back. It almost kind of reminds me, even though it was kind of a different scenario, from a Carlos Carrasco comeback. You know, you always want to see good things from that perspective happen. So kudos to him. Hopefully he has a good year too. If he does have a good year, Wags, is he a shoe-in for comeback player of the year?
Oh, yeah. I mean, if he has a good year to come back from a heart condition, most definitely. And Will, you can pick up a Crunch Time t-shirt. We're going to have a store that we're going to be opening up online. So I will post that as soon as we get that filled up with all of our merchandise. So yes, you can definitely get a Crunch Time shirt very, very soon. Do not worry. And Peyton, I don't know how I do all of this and college and work and hockey. I really, really don't know how it happens. Yeah, unbelievable, right? All right, over to the next game. Rockies and D-backs. Rockies a 7-3 victory over Arizona. John Gray, a no-hitter into the 7th, gets his first win of the year. Trevor Story and Blackmon go 4 for 8 with 4 RBIs between them. It feels to me like both Colorado and Arizona are going to kind of be in the bottom of the NL West this year, and all these games between them are going to kind of be back and forth. Is that your same kind of feeling as well, where, you know, they're going to kind of split their series because it looks like it's the Dodgers and Padres and then kind of everybody else?
Well, Wags, I had Arizona as number 3 because I see the Giants being worse than them, but I have Colorado below the Giants. So I can't say that because you still have the Giants, and the Giants are still old. So I'm not going to sit here and say that right now. Arizona is a team that you think are going to be terrible, but somehow still maintain competitiveness. I don't understand it per se, but for Colorado to be anywhere near competitive, they need guys like Madison Bumgarner to be good, and he hasn't been good last year.
Did you just say Colorado to be good? They need Bumgarner to be good?
No, for Arizona. I said Arizona.
Okay, I thought you said the Rockies.
Yeah, if I did, I'm sorry. I meant Arizona. For Arizona to be that third place team that I think they will be, they need Madison Bumgarner to be somewhere close to where he was in San Francisco. The problem with that is it's almost like a Jake Arrieta scenario in Chicago. He might have been used too much in those World Series runs. You kind of see where I'm coming from there?
Well, I mean, he does have an 11-plus ERA in 2 starts so far this year. He has not looked good. He has not looked good in Arizona, but he's also been dealing with injuries as well. So Bumgarner will get his wins this year. I don't know if it's necessarily that the Diamondbacks are going to need him to be stellar to get third place in that division because, like you said, the Rockies are going to be bad. The Giants they're not going to be bad. I actually think the Giants might actually take third place in that division. I think they've got some youth on that team and some young guys that are out to prove some stuff. So I actually think San Francisco might end up taking that third spot. Arizona does have some talent. They really do, but they don't have enough pitching in a sense to really, make a bunch of hay in that division. So I actually think San Francisco is going to end up third in that division. And that being said, I think San Diego and LA are going to be so far above them. It doesn't really matter who finishes third because it's not going to make that much of a difference at the end of the day. The Twins and Mariners, Twins 10-2 over Seattle today. Each Twins starter had at least one hit. Garver and Arraez each with 3 RBIs. Jose Barrios moves to 2-0, 5.2 innings pitched, 2 earned runs, 8 strikeouts, and 3 walks. The Twins, Man, they're such an exciting team. Obviously, they set the home run record a couple years back. They still can't get past the Yankees when it comes to the playoffs. But the Twins, they're exciting to watch.
They are exciting to watch. And at the forefront of that is 43 years old now, and Nelson Cruz. I mean, this guy, he ages like fine wine. His bat never slows down. It's amazing to watch a guy like that. And they have some good pitching. The problem is, Wags, can they face someone other than the Yankees? That's going to be the big issue. If they can face someone else other than the Yankees, they have a chance to at least win a game. I can't tell you the last time that Minnesota won a playoff game.
It's been a long time. It's back in the early 2000s was the last time the Minnesota Twins actually won a playoff game. It's not like they haven't won a playoff series. They haven't won a playoff game since the early 2000s. That right there shows you the futility that they've had to endure despite having teams that are very, very good. And they have offensive capabilities, and their pitching hasn't been too bad either. I mean, back in the day, a couple of years ago, they had friend of the show, Kyle Gibson, on that team. They had Lance Lynn on that team, and we're going to get to Lance Lynn here in just a second because, boy, oh boy, was that a blast from the past tonight. They keep running up against the Yankees. The Yankees seem to have their number, regardless on how good the Yankees actually are. The Yankees somehow in the playoffs had Minnesota's number. So, yeah, I'm very excited to see if they are able to match up against somebody other than the Yankees. And they're probably going to win that division. I mean, you look at Cleveland's kind of a little bit down this year after trading Lindor. Yes, they still got Jose Ramirez, who's been unbelievable the last couple of years. Detroit's kind of down. The White Sox, man, I tell you what, the White Sox are going to be an enigma this year. I thought they were really, really good last year. I thought they were going to win the division last year. They kind of had to take a step back with Eloy Jimenez going down, but they still have Luis Robert. They still have some good pitching. They got TLR there now. And what we know about Tony La Russa is that he can make the most out of teams that maybe may not have a bunch of great talent, but some good talent. And we saw that tonight in their 6-0 victory over the Kansas City Royals. So you had mentor versus mentee. Tony La Russa going up against Mike Matheny tonight. And just for the fun of it, Lance Lynn goes out there and throws a 9-inning complete game shutout with 11 strikeouts. Tell me that wasn't fun seeing those three guys going at it and seeing Lance Lynn just shut down Mike Matheny's Royals.
That was awesome. And I kind of still have some ill will towards the St. Louis Cardinals for not extending Lance Lynn, because I feel like he'd be a pillar on this team right now. He'd certainly some of these younger guys would have taken bigger steps if Lance Lynn were still on this team, in my mind. So kudos to Lance Lynn, man. That was awesome to watch. And like I said, when Nelson Cruz, Lance Lynn seems to age like fine wine when it comes to being on the mound. And the thing is, it's all fastballs. It's mostly fastballs from Lance Lynn, and he's somehow effective. I mean, it's awesome to watch, man.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't say it's effective in a sense because he has lots of movement. That's the thing. You can throw a bunch of fastballs, but if you have movement on every pitch and you can vary speeds on that fastball, it's going to make it difficult to hit. And that's what Lance Lynn's been able to do. And I'm glad that he's finding success in Chicago. I wish, like you said, I wish it was with St. Louis. I think the Cardinals did let him go a little bit too soon, but that's just the way it is. And once again, Matheny was one of those guys that he was the one that kind of let Lance Lynn go. So it was nice to kind of see him get his comeuppance essentially by having Lance Lynn pitch a complete game shutout and struck out 11 Royals. A couple of games still in action. The Angels and Blue Jays are in the 10th inning, tied at 5. Mike Trout, as you mentioned earlier, had another absolute blast tonight, 444 feet on that home run for Trout in the 5th inning. I said it before we went on the air. Mike Trout is the best player in baseball as far as talent.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at it overall, though, is Mike Trout the best player in baseball? And if he's not, who is, in your mind, the best player in baseball?
You know, until he got hurt, well, I'm still going to say it. I still think Fernando Tatis is right up there with him. Fernando Tatis Jr. is, in my mind, the best player in baseball, not named Mike Trout. And I say that because Mike Trout, until he has a decline, which doesn't look like it's going to be in the near future, will always be far and away the best player in baseball. But you have Fernando Tatis Jr., who is going to be a force in this game for a very long time. Now, I saw Tatis get hurt. I'm wondering, Wags, will that swing be affected, or will that swing be changed going forward? Because he did that on his swing, and it's a shoulder injury. So do you think there's any changes in his swing once he comes back, or do you think he's going to be a different player when he comes back? What do you think?
I mean, there's probably going to be some trepidation the first few times he swings, but I don't think he's going to come back until he's feeling right. And by feeling right, that means he's going to have his swing be the way he wants it to be. So I think initially, yeah, there'll probably be a little bit of hesitation. There might be a slight change in the swing, but when he's healthy, he's going to go right back to what he knows how to do. And I don't think you're going to see anything significant as far as changes are concerned for his swing. And, you know, I love how you basically said, Mike Trout's the best player in baseball by far and away. But Fernando Tatis is right there with him. So if he's right there with him, how is he far and away the best player?
Let me rephrase that. He's not right there with him because he hasn't been there long enough. Like, I'd say a couple of years if he has the same type of production. But Fernando Tatis Jr., while he's not close to Mike Trout now, will be close in a year or two.
Okay, and what about this guy in Philadelphia by the name of Bryce Harper? Does he figure into the equation at all?
Well, here's the thing, though. For me, no. I don't know what it is about Bryce Harper. It's just no. I think it's the averages he's had the last couple of years. They just haven't been great. Now, granted, everybody who was bad last year, you can't really put it. You have to put an asterisk by it because, again, that season was so weird, 2020. So, but yeah, Bryce Harper really hasn't been able to put it all together yet. That's why I don't put him in that conversation.
So, what's your criteria? And this is not. I'm not trying to bash you on who you think is the best player, but what is your criteria for best player in the game? Because if you look at Mike Trout, you look at Bryce Harper, you look at Fernando Tatis, none of those guys have won a championship. So are you basing best player in baseball on things other than championships? And if not, why do you not have a guy that's won multiple championships as the best player in baseball?
That's a good question, Wags. But we say that about Mike Trout all the time. Mike Trout never gets to play in the playoffs because he's never had great teams around him. Bryce Harper, right after he leaves Washington, they win a World Series. And Fernando Tatis Jr., none of these guys, and that's funny. It's funny you bring that up because none of these guys have a championship yet. And until they have a championship, they can really be up there. But Mike Trout, in my mind, doesn't need to have a championship edge to his name because he's that good. Good.
Why? Why is he that good? Is it basically purely based on numbers then? Because
it's purely based on numbers, purely what he can do in the outfield. In the outfield, Wags, you got to be good defensively too. And Mike Trout is that. Fernando Tatis Jr. is that.
Win games. You got to be good in the outfield defensively to not win games.
You gotta be good offensively and defensively, in my mind, to be in that conversation as best player in baseball.
Well, I'm going to create an absolute firestorm. I'm going to 100% create an absolute firestorm. And I know a lot of people are going to. I mean, I'll have people that agree with me, but. You want to know who I think the best player in baseball is right now, and it's not because of statistics?
Go.
Yadier Molina.
That's not so. I won't. You didn't create that much of a firestorm.
Well, I mean, look at it. Look at it. This guy has controlled pitching stats. He controls the running game. He is a guy that produces offensively. He's a multiple Gold Glove winner, a multiple champion. He's a guy that people look at and they go, okay, he is a guy I know. I don't run on him. Yes, there are younger guys that have tried to run on him this year, but they don't run on him. He is a good situational hitter. He's a clutch hitter. He has continuously built rotations to the best of their abilities. I mean, if you're looking at everything. He doesn't have the greatest statistics, no, but he has good statistics. He has championships. He has gravitas. He has respect. I mean, how can you not sit there and say that Yadier Molina is not the best player in baseball based on specific certain, criteria? And if you're looking purely at statistics, yeah, Mike Trout is probably the quote-unquote best player in baseball. But if you want to talk about intangibles and everything that goes around it, I dare you to name anybody that's more qualified than Yadier Molina.
I know we're running out of time here, but Lester brought up a good point here. There is a good player in St. Louis, too, by the name of Nolan Arenado. Would he be considered in that conversation? I think so.
Hasn't won a championship yet. Hasn't won a championship.
Knowing how great he is, he's not up there because he hasn't won a championship.
No.
Okay.
I don't think, yes, it's a team sport, but if you're not, you've got to be able to bring a team around you as well if you're the best player in baseball or best player in any sport. If you can rally your team and raise your team up to a level of competition that maybe people don't think you can get to, that right there gives you the ability to win a championship. So
okay.
I think, hell, if the Cardinals go out and win a World Series this year, then yeah, Nolan Arenado could definitely be the best player in baseball. But right now, in my mind, Yadier Molina is. And that's just, I know it's weird, but that's just kind of how I feel about it. All right, we're going to take a quick break here again on Crunch Time. We'll come back with some more sports talk here on ASTV Productions.
Hey Crunch Time fans, my name is Graham Forsyth. I'm the host of Coffee with Graham and the Prospect Show on ASTV Productions. On Coffee with Graham, I talk to athletes, coaches, and whoever else involved in the amateur sports scene in Manitoba and Saskatchewan. And on the Prospect Show, I talk to the best young hockey prospects from around North America. You can catch all the coverage on ASTV Productions. You can catch Coffee with Graham on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 10:30 a.m. Central Time. And for the Prospect Show, that show airs every Friday at 8 p.m. Central Time. Hope to see you there. Have a good one.
And as always, make sure you guys check out all the other great shows here on ASTV Productions. Back here on Crunch Time, Wags and Joe, breaking things down in the world of sports. Well, yes, it was opening day here in St. Louis, but another huge event started today, and that is the Masters. The Masters play begins today. Justin Rose has a 4-stroke lead today after a 7-under 65. And you can sit there and say, wow, that's a really good score. Mm-hmm. That's unbelievable. He was one of only 12 golfers to finish under par today. Only 4 players shot under 70. This course is not the same course that Dustin Johnson won at 20 below par in the fall last year, and it was a rough one today. Rose started off rough too. 2 bogeys, a birdie, and an eagle on the front 9, but then he came alive on the backside. 6 birdies to get to his 7 under par. Just another. First off, I'm glad that we're getting back to some semblance of normalcy because the Masters in April is just like the harbinger of spring and getting into the summer and just seeing that course and then the green jacket at the end of all this, it just makes you feel comfortable and happy and just all warm and fuzzy inside.
It really does. And you look at all the contenders. You have Justin Thomas. You have Brooks Koepka. Although he had kind of or no, that wasn't Koepka. Koepka is one of those contenders in there. Bryson DeChambeau, which he was kind of in a bad way today. He's one of the guys who struggled. And this course, man, I'll tell you what, this course is probably the toughest course in the PGA schedule. Am I wrong on that? What is the toughest course then, Wags? If you had to say one, which one is it?
I think all of the majors are tough. I mean, they make them tough. TPC is definitely tough. The Masters, Augusta is right up there. It's not. I'm not sitting there saying it's an easy course. It always plays tough. But when it comes to the majors, whichever course they're going to, especially the ones that are there every year, like Augusta, those are ridiculously tough to play. And you saw that today. I mean, the only guy outside of Justin Rose that's in contention, that's a big name is Jordan Spieth, who came off of a victory last weekend. And he didn't start off so great, but he also finished a bit stronger as well. Finished with a 3 under back 9 to get to 1 under par. So yeah, I think it's a tough course. It's not the toughest, I don't believe. I'd have to really look at the breakdowns to see which one is generally the toughest course overall. It seems to me like the Players Championship seems to always be the one that people gripe about the most, and I think that's a one that rotates courses as well. So it's not even so much the course itself; it's more about the tournament that really makes it tough. But it reared its head today. Obviously Georgia has seen some mixed weather. They were watering the greens pretty much consistently over this past week because they had a lot of dry weather, and it's still, the course was still ridiculously tough. I don't think you're going to see, obviously not going to see a 20 under victory this year. I think you're going to see scores get closer and closer to even par as the weekend goes on, which means obviously the cut mark is going to be a little bit lower. So it gives some of these guys that didn't have a good first round a bit more of a chance to get back into this. But I'll be perfectly honest. I think the Masters group and golf in general is really happy to see Bryson DeChambeau not do well today because he's been a bit of a source of contention the last, I don't know, year or so.
Mm-hmm. And apparently he was whining to his caddy today. And I'm like, you know what? My thing is, if you make a bad shot, isn't that on you? I mean, you've played some golf, Wags. I mean,
it's a symbiote, though. It's a symbiote relationship between you and your caddy. So, yes, it does. I mean, the whole execution does come down to the golfer itself, but you're also relying on your caddy to be that second set of eyes and kind of your sounding board. And yes, at the end of the day, it's your call on what club you take and what shot you're trying to hit and all that stuff. But, the caddy does have a lot of very important input to what shot you're going to try and attempt. You got your yardage book and you've got what you've hit with every club. So they're going to give you a really good idea of what you should be going with. But at the end of the day, the golfer is the one that's going to make that decision. So I don't know of any golfer or any caddy that basically says the caddy overrules my decision. Okay. And never in the history of golf has a caddy ever overridden the decision of a golfer. So the input that they give you is what they give you. And they may suggest a shot, they may suggest a club, but if you go against it, you can't really sit there and say, oh, it's the caddy's fault for doing it. Now, if you agree with the caddy, it's kind of, a 50-50 split. The caddy saw it, you both saw the same thing, you both agreed to the same thing. So, yeah, it's kind of both of your fault. But if the caddy makes one suggestion and you go against it, it's kind of on you. So, yeah, Bryson DeChambeau, yeah, no thanks.
Well, and I kind of take it in terms of, I bowl in a league. I know I'm comparing bowling and golf here, but a lot of bowlers that I've bowled with blame the equipment. Don't blame the equipment. Blame yourself on a bad shot. That's all I got to say about that.
No. No, it's always the equipment. The equipment is always the failure. Come on. That's always how it is. If you miss a shot in hockey, oh, it's the stick's fault. If you strike out, oh man, that bat has a hole in it. I cannot believe that bat has a hole in it. The basket was actually 10 feet 1 inch instead of 10 feet high. So that's why the shot didn't. It's always the equipment's fault, Joe. Come on, man. You gotta know that stuff. You gotta know it. And Lester, yeah, you were right. Really miss seeing Tiger there in the Masters. I mean, I talked a little bit about it last night about his car accident. Obviously he was speeding down that straightaway and lost control of the car, hit the accelerator instead of the brake, ran into the tree. And it definitely, as much as we talk about the Masters being that start to spring, start to summer, not seeing Tiger out there as part of that, whether he's playing or just there as a spectator dealing with injury possibly, it does make it a lot different. There's a difference to the Masters without him there. But here's the thing that's really changed in the game of golf over the last 15, 20 years. When Tiger broke into golf and he made his hay at the Masters and all of that, it was Tiger and everybody else. You knew some of the names. You knew the Phil Mickelsons, you knew the Payne Stewarts and stuff like that. There were guys that you knew of, but it was Tiger and everybody else. At this point in time, even if Tiger were here at his peak, there's still 7, 8, 9, 10 other golfers that actually might have equaled him at that point in time as far as play is concerned. And that's the big change that I've seen in golf, is that we have a lot of really, really sound, good golfers, and they're younger too. You talk about a guy like Brooks Koepka, you have Dustin Johnson, you have Justin Thomas, you've got a lot of young guys, Jordan Spieth, Rory McIlroy, all these guys. And poor Rory McIlroy, he hit his dad on the course today with an errant tee shot. So not even the stars' parents are immune to a shank every now and then. But that's the thing about golf, is like, it's exciting because you don't have to have Tiger there for it to be a good tournament. And yes, maybe television ratings are going to suffer a little bit because Tiger's not in it, but I dare you to go out and watch a round of golf on the TV this weekend and tell me that it's not exciting even with Tiger not there.
It's very, very exciting. Now, if Tiger were there, where would he be on the list of, top golfers? At his peak, he was world number one. He wouldn't be world number one with the current crop of guys. I mean, he got, like we've talked about, where would he be on that list? It's a very hard.
Are you talking about Tiger Woods as he is now, or Tiger Woods at his peak?
Tiger Woods at his peak.
Tiger Woods at his peak, he'd still be number one.
But is that a big discrepancy, though, over the world number two? Or is it very close?
I still think there is a gap. If you're talking Tiger Woods at his peak and guys right now at their peak, I think Tiger Woods still is head and shoulders above those guys. But the pack is closer at two. Like, you have a lot of guys in that 2 to 12 range that are all really close together and really, really good. Back when Tiger busted in, you probably had 5, 6 golfers that really were super ridiculously consistent as top money earners. You had a lot of good golfers. I'm not saying that golfers back in the 90s and early 2000s were bad. I'm just saying that you have a lot more talent, 2 through 12, 2 through 15 now than you did back in the day. But I still think, just think about it. When Tiger was on, who could touch him? He just had to turn around and give you a look. He just had to wear a certain shirt, and you're like, nope, that's it. I'm done. Tiger at peak now would still be Tiger at his peak in the 90s and 2000s.
Okay. Since you said that, I want to ask you about one golfer that could probably take him on in my mind, and that golfer would be Phil Mickelson. Would you give Phil Mickelson a clear shot to perhaps take Tiger Woods down?
We saw Tiger and Phil battle it out both at their peaks. So, the answer to that question, no. 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 It just wouldn't. No, not at all. Not at all. So, make sure you guys catch the rest of the 3 rounds of the Masters again tomorrow, Saturday, and Sunday. See if Justin Rose is able to hold down that 4-stroke lead. See if anybody else can really go on a run and get some under par play, as the tough is only going to get tougher as the weekend goes on. All right, coming up next here on Crunch Time, we're going to dive into the rest of the sports world, NHL, NBA, talk a little bit about the NFL as well. So make sure you come back for more Crunch Time here on ASTV Productions.
Hi, I'm JD Houghton, host of the SAS Sports Show. Catch it every Thursday at 5 p.m. Central Standard Time for all things Saskatchewan sports.
And JD's a great guy. Make sure you check out his show as well. Get a really good insight into Saskatoon hockey and really Canadian hockey as it is. Make sure you check that show out. And speaking of hockey, oh man, lots of really, really good games going down tonight. I know we talked a little bit last night about the Blues in Vegas. That game was going on as we were on, and the Blues ended up winning that game 3-1 last night. A much needed victory for the St. Louis Blues last night. But let's talk a little bit more about some of these other leagues and other divisions and some of the other games that went down today. We had Carolina taking out the Panthers 3-0. Alex Nedeljkovic, 24 saves in net for the Hurricanes. That victory keeps Carolina 1 point ahead of Tampa Bay in the Central Division, as Tampa Bay is 6-4 winner over the Columbus Blue Jackets. Yanni Gourde 4 assists tonight. That division is very, very tight at the top. Obviously, Carolina leading it. Tampa and Florida both tied at 56 points, 1 point back there. But like we said last night, Florida is now without Aaron Ekblad, and it feels like they're about ready to drop down a little bit as far as their absolute ability. I think they're still going to make the playoffs. Obviously, they've got a 9-point lead over Nashville for 4th, and they've got a 15-point lead over Chicago for 5th, which would be out of the playoffs. So I think Florida's in the playoffs, but they're playing on borrowed time now, are they not?
Yeah, they're playing on borrowed time, and you know, before Ekblad got hurt, you had a feeling that this team could go on a run in the postseason. And I'm not saying they still can't, but Ekblad being their best player, no doubt, that's going to hinder them a little bit. I do like what this team has done, and I do like their head coach. I still don't understand why Chicago had to get rid of him. I understand it was a changing of the guard per se, but he still has a lot of good years left in him, Joel Quenneville. So, yeah, they're going to be set up real good for the future too.
As long as Ekblad comes back healthy, and if they can get enough out of Sergei Bobrovsky for the rest of that massive deal, then yeah, I think they can. But they also have they've got a couple of really good young goaltenders in the system. I mean, if you watch the World Juniors this past year, both the starting goaltender for Canada and for the United States were both Florida Panthers goaltending prospects. So the future's bright in net for Florida. So yeah, I think they get a lot of flack for the lack of fans that they have in the stands, but I think they do have a really, really good team. So I'm very interested to see how that plays out the rest of the year. Moving over to the East, the New York Islanders, a 3-2 shootout victory over the Philadelphia Flyers tonight. They're able to maintain their lead in the East, 56 points. Washington fell tonight to Washington did not play tonight. They played the Bruins tonight. They fell to the Bruins 4-2. Brad Marchand a goal and an assist. Alex Ovechkin gets his 725th career goal, 20th of the year. Unfortunately, they sit 2 points behind the Islanders, just 2 points ahead of the Penguins, who had a 5-2 victory over the Rangers tonight. And that division is tightening up just a little bit. Boston sitting at 48 points as well. So you got 8 points separating the top spot from the 4th spot, with Philadelphia really pushing hard. On the back end, 42 points, just 6 points behind Boston as well. Is the Eastern Division the most competitive division in the NHL right now?
Yes, it is by far. But I do have to ask you here, 2 teams, Philadelphia. What the hell happened, man? Since that game against the New York Rangers where they lost 10-0, they just haven't been the same. Like, what do you think's been going on with that?
They just aren't ready to win yet.
Really?
They've got they still got a young rookie goaltender in a sense in Carter Hart. They've kind of missed on some of their high-end prospects as well. I mean, Shane Gostisbehere was put on waivers. He was supposed to be like their cornerstone defenseman. So they had a lot of talents, and all of a sudden it just kind of disappeared. They've had off years the last couple of years, and their leading guys are just not producing. I think I don't know what happened to Philadelphia, because I thought going into last year, I thought they had the same kind of mindset and the same kind of makeup and moxie that the 2019 Blues had. I thought they were going to go on a run in the playoffs and make some noise, and they just kind of fell off. And honestly, they still, in a sense, resemble the St. Louis Blues. They have a lot of talent, but they just aren't putting it together. And they're very much in the mood and the mindset of they probably need to make a coaching change as well. I think they need to shake some stuff up and fire the coach and bring in somebody, maybe not like Craig Berube, but somebody that's going to come in and change their style and really push the guys that they have there to be a bit better. So I look at Philadelphia, and I think they're ripe for a coaching change and seeing what they can get out of that. They have not been able to produce like they had a couple years ago.
Yeah, they haven't been. And the other team I want to ask you about is the Pittsburgh Penguins. They're on the backside of their window. They're with their aging core. are they still a dangerous team going into the playoffs?
Oh, yeah. I mean, you look at what they've done in the goaltending department. They went from Marc-Andre Fleury to Matt Murray, now to Tristan Jarry. They've done a great job with their goaltending, and that's what wins championships is defense and goaltending. Yes, scoring is great, but it's tried and true staple. Defense and goaltending are going to win championships for you. And the fact that they've got a guy like Jarry there that's putting up numbers that are good enough like Matt Murray did and like Marc-Andre Fleury did, you still got Crosby. You still got Chris Letang. Yes, if Evgeny Malkin is injured, but they've also been able to just recycle players. You know, Zach Austin Reese is a guy that came out of nowhere. They got Brian Rust, a guy that's came out of nowhere. They just seem to be able to find those guys that make their system work. And that just is what makes them dangerous. So, yeah, I wouldn't count Philadelphia or Pittsburgh out at all when it comes to the playoffs this year, as much as I want to, because I'm not a Crosby fan at all. But they're a team that you just cannot count out, and that's just the way it is.
Yep, that's the way it is. And I've been a fan of Geno Malkin, too. I always like to see him do well.
Yeah, I used to trade him to the Blues whenever I played NHL, so yeah, I'm not opposed to that as well. Over in the North, Edmonton, a 3-1 victory over the Ottawa Senators tonight. Mike Smith, 39 saves in the victory. Also, the Jets take out the Canadiens 4-2, and that puts them still in third place. But, you know, you talked last night about the Jets and how you thought they were a team that could make some noise in the playoffs. You know, Connor Hellebuck, 36 saves tonight. Winnipeg to me is just such a odd team because they have good goaltending. You don't know who the hell is on defense because they lost all their defenders last year.
Right.
They haven't really got any back, but they had a really good defense last year of a bunch of no-name guys that are still there. Offensively, you look at it and you go, okay, Andrew Kopp, Nikolai Ehlers, Morrissey. I mean, it's not like sexy names that are jumping out at you. I mean, Patrick Laine was there, but you know, he was just kind of there. He would put up some good games, but not much else. But like, what is it about Winnipeg that just makes you sit there and go, but they might be a team that comes out of the North as the North champion.
I brought this up last night, Wags. They have 9 guys, 3 lines of scoring talent on that team. They can score from whatever line. It's awesome to see. You talk about goaltending. Connor Hellebuck, Laurent Brossoit has been good too in net for them. So, I mean, if you have like you said, Wags, how many times have you said this? That the NHL is a two goalie system now.
Yeah, it is.
And if you have 2 good goaltenders, plus you have all the guys that can score on your team, that's going to get you some success in the long run. Now, I question their defense in terms of, you know, getting into the playoffs and these pressure-packed situations. I mean, granted, you're seeing it now with, you know, all Canadian division, and granted, no fans, but there's still pressure. Now, going into the playoffs, that pressure intensifies by 10. You know what I mean? So it's going to be interesting. That's a team for me that I want to watch in the North Division in the postseason. Another team, because they don't face the Boston Bruins, is the Toronto Maple Leafs. The Toronto Maple Leafs, is this a year that they finally get out of the first round?
No, I don't think it is.
Okay, give me your sound reasoning right now.
Okay, so once again, you talk about having a 2 goaltender system. Frederik Andersen's great. Don't get me wrong, but who are they going to go to if Frederik Andersen has an off night? And you can't have an off night in the playoffs. Tell me who's on defense for the Toronto Maple Leafs?
Morgan Riley and a bunch of
you have, and you talk about this with Winnipeg. You have a suspect defense, and you're going to have a defense that's going to continuously pump 40 to 50 shots on your goaltender. If Frederik Andersen has an off night, or they have to play back-to-backs or something of that nature, he's going to eventually wear it down.
I agree.
I just don't think Toronto has enough on the back end to really make it deep into the playoffs. Now, yes, they've got guys like Austin Matthews and Mitch Marner and John Tavares, who seems to have disappeared, even though he's had a solid career in Toronto so far. I think a guy like Mitch Marner is someone that is wildly underrated. I think he's a very, very good player. I mean, 35 assists this year. That's impressive. That's a really, really good mark right now. He obviously leads his team by 12 assists. Morgan Riley is the other guy that has the next guy on the list with assists. I definitely think Mitch Marner is a very underrated player, but it doesn't seem like, I know it's going to sound crazy saying, I don't know if they have enough scoring to outpace the goals that they might give up. So if they face Winnipeg in the first round, or even if they face Montreal in the first round, I don't know if they're going to get out of that unscathed. They may lose in the first round again, and it may not be a Boston thing. It may be a Toronto thing. And if that's the case, what's the offseason going to look like for the Maple Leafs?
Wholesale changes. Has to. It just has to at that point. I don't understand why. I mean,
what wholesale changes can you make? I mean, the only things you can do are goaltending and defense. Those are what you're going to have to shore up. And I'm not saying Binnington is like the absolute answer, but the fact that Jordan Binnington is now off the market, who are they going to go after and get to fill that hole?
You got a point there. I mean, they're in a tough spot. They have to win right now. If they don't, then there could be a rebuild in Toronto soon.
I don't think you're going to see a rebuild in Toronto, but
then what kind of changes do you think need to happen in terms of, yes, defense and goaltending, but Frederik Andersen, you keep him there, but you need a backup.
You re-sign Freddie Andersen and you trade one of your names for some defensive help. And I'm not talking about low-end defensive help. I'm talking about you have to go out there and make a move to bring in a top-tier defender for that team. Because if you don't have a top-tier defender, this team is never going to win a Stanley Cup, because defense wins championships. We say it all the time. Yes, goals are great, but if you can't stop the puck from getting into your own net, you're not going to win a ton of games. So they have to go out and they have to find a way to get a top-tier defenseman at whatever cost it's going to take. They have to find a way to make that happen. So we'll see how that plays out. Lots more action going on in the NHL over the next couple weeks. The Blues, once again, have one of the toughest schedules in the league. They still have an outside chance of getting into the playoffs, but we'll see how that happens, if that even happens. The Blues are getting ready to have a 3-game set against Minnesota, 2 games here Friday, Saturday in St. Louis, and then a 3rd game Monday in Minnesota before they host Colorado next Wednesday. So another just tough stretch for the St. Louis Blues coming up. Make sure you guys join us every night here on Crunch Time at 9 o'clock for your recap in the day in sports. We'll have more action tomorrow to talk about, including the second round of the Masters. Joe, anything before we head out tonight?
No, man, it's been a great show, and I hope Jordan Binnington's We're Coming. I hope they do end up making a run after that. I mean, if you get that Jordan Binnington out, I'm so happy, But good on the Cardinals to win a game today. Day off tomorrow. I never understood the day off, Wags, in between games 1 and 2 when you open the season. I just never understood that. Can you?
Because of rain. Because if they would have gotten rained out today, then they have a day tomorrow to make it up.
Okay, so that's the sole purpose?
Yep.
Okay.
So, alrighty. Well, guys, thank you for joining us. Make sure, like I said, you come back at 9 o'clock every night for more Crunch Time here on ASTV Productions. For Joe, I am Wags. Have a great rest of your night, and we'll see you tomorrow.